Hello, and welcome to Women in Business, where we interview entrepreneurs and senior managers and show you the strengths, successes, obstacles, and roadblocks women experience in business. Since I believe every person in business needs to be visible, I'd like to invite you to watch www.sob6, that's the number 6, tips.com, which will give you some valuable information should you get the call to be on radio or TV, which I think is extremely important. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at Gail Carson, that's Gayle, GailCarson13 at gmail.com, or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter.
Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Gail Carson with Women in Business, and we have a terrific guest today. Her name is Joanna Kleinman. She's a licensed psychotherapist, an Amazon #1 best-selling international author of Dethroning Your Inner Critic. She's a life and corporate coach, a podcaster, and a motivational speaker. She is also the creator of the Mind Method, a time-tested, proven system that brings together practical psychology, neuroscience, and the power of intention to discover who you are, separate from the critical voice in your mind. She considers herself to be an unconventional therapist and is driven by the conviction that the most powerful life you can live is when you know the difference between you and your inner critic. I would certainly agree with that. And she has over 25 years of experience working with corporations like Campowerment, Cigna, Nestle, TD Bank, and has transformed the lives of thousands of people, detailing how they can design a new future by rewiring the automatic way they think and act and breaking the habit of giving energy and attention to their inner critic. Well, Joanna, with all of that, I welcome you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
You know, I think this is the most important time for this kind of work, because I think everybody is going through so much now, and not only with the pandemic, but with the election and with the economy. So what's your definition of an inner critic?
Yeah, that is such an important question. So what I call the inner critic is the voice in all of our minds that literally speaks to us all day long, from the moment we get up to the moment we go to bed. So there's research that we have over 50,000 thoughts a day. And we don't tell our minds what to think. It's kind of like our bodies breathe for us. Our bodies make our hearts beat. Our minds just go. And unfortunately, we are not taught how to think, right? We just think, but we're not taught how to think. And so we are so fused with the voices in our minds that we think that that is us speaking, and it's actually not.
Well, you know, it's so funny that you say that, Joanna, because my whole philosophy, and people who have heard me hundreds and thousands of times know this is my philosophy, and that's I go to bed with a smile, I get up with a smile, and then I do what I love all day. So I don't really have an inner critic. I suppose I do somewhere along the line, but really, I don't have time for those thoughts, you know? So why do you think so many people are chronically dissatisfied in at least some part of their life? I mean, I understand why now, especially moms who are working from home and homeschooling kids and, you know, dealing with all the things that are going on. But still, you know, that's called life, and you have to deal with it.
Yes. So here's the thing, okay? This actually goes back to our primitive brain, like our actual biology, all right? Because when you think about the brain, okay, our brains were actually created for survival, okay? So back, you know, millions of years ago, we needed to pay attention to danger, okay? Now, let's fast forward in our modern world, okay? We're certainly not being chased by tigers who want to eat us for dinner, right? But what happens with our mind, okay, is that our minds tend to focus in one of two places, okay? Either our mind is focused on the past, right? And we focus on the past so that we can figure out, how do I not repeat the same mistakes? How do I get life to go in the direction that I want it to go? So our minds go from the past, jumping to the future, and then back to the past and back to the future. And that is the issue, okay? Because the past is dead, all right? And most people say, well, I need to focus on the past because I need to learn from it. I think that the most powerful life that we can live is when we really understand that we are not the voice that dissects and analyzes our past, or worries and tries to predict and control and script and manage how the future goes. Because both of those things is exactly what contributes to our feelings of chronic dissatisfaction, which, let's face it, was in our culture before the pandemic and is exacerbated now with what we're dealing with, because we're in the face of so much uncertainty and unknown. But that's always been there.
You know, it's interesting because people who are, shall we say, futurists or sometimes spiritualists, they say don't concentrate on the past. In other words, what you dwell on keeps happening.
Correct.
So if you just concentrate on, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is how I'm going to live, this is what I'm going to do, that will actually manifest itself. And so, you know, the positive thinking is so important. But why do you think so many people don't pursue their dreams and you know, aren't happy?
Yeah. Yep. So, you know, I love what you're saying about, like, okay, well, just think positive, right? Except here's the problem with that. So we start formulating ideas about who we are starting at the age of about 3 and 4 years old. And what's unfortunate about all human beings, and this is all human beings, okay, we are, by the time we're about 10, 90% of our sense of self is formed. Now, of course, we're always growing and we're evolving and we're learning and we're, right? But we have a fundamental sense of who we are by the time we're 10. And the reason why that is unfortunate for human beings is because for every one of us, okay, there's not a human being alive that didn't have something in their childhood that there was a moment where in some way something wasn't right. Now, it could have been something traumatic, but it doesn't have to be, right? It could be that you got yelled at for spilling milk. But the bottom line is, the moment that a young child has that feeling, to a young child, that is overwhelming, okay? And that's because, again, going back to caveman times, we needed to fit into our tribe or else we died, right? There's a motivation to want to be loved and valued and belong. But when we're so little, right, when we're little boys and little girls, we don't understand that our parents are in a bad mood because, you know, they just got into a fight with their dad, or right, or they're, you know, they're paying their, you know, they're having trouble paying their bills, right? We don't understand that. We look at our caregivers and adults as all knowing and all powerful. So inevitably, we decide as children that in some way there's something not okay with us. And that is the moment that the inner critic mind gets formed, because then we try and figure out, okay, I never want to feel this pain again. And this is all subconscious, okay? Because we're driven by either avoiding pain or seeking pleasure. That's like the basic drive of humans. So we decide, who do I need to be to make sure I never feel this way again? And so that sets up the striving that exists so in so many of us, right? Where we're always wanting to seek approval, from other people. We're wanting to seek love from other people. We're wanting to seek validation from other people. We're wanting to hit certain goals, right? Well, maybe, once I lose weight, then that's going to make me feel good enough. Once I get my business goal, that's going to make me feel good enough. Once I get married, that's going to make me feel good enough. Once I have children, once I get divorced. And it turns into this lifelong race where we're always looking for the next thing out there, whether it's from someone or something, to make us feel like we're enough. And that is inherent in all human beings. And it really takes understanding how to think in a way, right, that is intentionally different than the way we are biologically and automatically designed to think as humans.
Well, you know something, Joanna, I have to say, I guess I'm lucky because I don't, I was raised by great parents. I mean, they were disciplinarians, but great parents. And I really don't, I know I've had them, but I don't really remember my failures because they're in the past and I'm moving on to what I do now. So I'm fortunate that I don't dwell on those kinds of things. However, my sister, she was a psychotherapist. She's given up her license now because she's 88, but she's still very active in the industry, in the field. And I always said to her, why do these people keep coming back to you? Why don't they just solve their problems? Because I could never understand why people got involved in all of this, shall we say, rhetoric. And she came with me to a lecture I was doing for a doctor for his patients, and it was Customer Appreciation Day. And one of the women was talking about things that her mom had told her to do, and she was still doing them, but she didn't want to do them. And I said to her, well, how long is your mom still alive? And she said, no. And I said, well, how long has she been gone? And she's been gone for something like 30 years. And the woman was still ruled by her mom. And so my sister said, oh, Gail, I just wanted to get out of my chair and give her all this clinical information. She said, but you just did it so well in everyday language. And, I guess I'm very fortunate because I just don't get hung up on those kinds of things. So in your opinion, based on everything that you said, what is the true secret to successful relationships?
Well, so successful relationships starts with your relationship with yourself, right? And so that is the most significant relationship that is so often overlooked, right? It's not like people even think about, oh, I'm cultivating a relationship with myself, right? So, every single emotion that we have, every single emotion starts with a thought, right? So to your point, Gail, when you say, I guess I just don't dwell on any failures that I've had, right? Because every single human being has had failures, right? And,
absolutely. I mean, that's what gets you stronger.
Exactly. And so to your point, like there's nothing inherently wrong with failure until we assign the meaning to it. So the issue is, it is never the circumstances of our lives that cause our suffering. Never. There is our circumstances, and then there is the meaning that we assign to the circumstances. So with regards to relationships, okay, relationships are really determined by your thoughts. Because especially when you're in an intimate relationship with someone, I always say that the more intimate your relationship is, the younger you become. Okay, so in other words, you're right, and I don't know, are you married, Gail?
I'm widowed. I was married for 45 years.
You were married wow, that's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. So so you can probably relate to this, right? So. Right, when you're in a relationship with someone and something minor happens, right? Like, I don't know, your husband forgets to, put the soda can in the, in the recycling bin or something, something silly like that. And right, when we have extreme reactions to something, most people don't understand that they're not really reacting to the issue at hand. That if they actually dig deeper, right, it is that, you didn't put the soda can in the recycling bin, and I told you 100 times that it's really important to me, and you don't do anything around here, you don't help me, right? And if we really, really distill it down, there's a deeper pain that's getting triggered. And until we really understand and own and take responsibility for our deeper pain, right? Because that, again, that is the makeup and design of a human being. Every human being on the planet has pain. The suffering is from the thoughts that we have about the pain. And so we always have a choice as to how we are going to look at our circumstances, whether they are circumstances from the past or they are circumstances that are occurring right now, or when our minds drift to the future. I call that future tripping, right? So we can be like laying in our comfy bed, all cozy and warm, right? And we could literally be having a panic attack while in bed because our minds are fixated on some imagined future, or fixated on something that happened in the past where we're mulling it over and over and over again, assigning all this meaning to what we did or what somebody else did or what they should have done or what they shouldn't have done or what we should have done or shouldn't have done. And so it really is that so much of our life, if we don't know how to think, is actually lived in our minds, where we're not responding to the actual circumstances that are occurring right here in the present moment, in the here and now. We're actually reacting to either pain from our past or imagined scenarios from our future. And that's what we do in relationships.
Wow, it seems so complicated, when my husband met me, which was at a party, that night he told his brother who was there with him that he was going to marry me. And he was after me for 3.5 years, and I always said no because I didn't want to get married. And finally I decided that there just wasn't anybody better as a human being. Now, I loved him, but I have to tell you that I really looked at his characteristics as a person more than anything else, because I knew I was difficult to live with because I'm definitely career oriented, and he was perfect for me. So I just think that some people make it more complicated than it has to be. So how, in your opinion, with all this stuff going on in your mind, do you build a successful business or a career?
Yeah, that's a great question. And building a successful business or a successful career is a journey, right? And, I'm sure you can probably relate to this, right? If you look back at the journey of life so far, right? The truth is, and this is for all of us, right? Half of life goes the way we want it to, and half of life doesn't. That's really how it goes. And so building a successful business and a successful career is really about when that part of life, right? You've got a business goal and you didn't hit it, or right, or you didn't make the sale, or whatever it is, right? How are you going to think in a way about the half of life that doesn't go the way that you want it to, such that you are using it to learn and grow and just take the very next step? Because see, where I think people get, tripped up in business and in building a career is they want to predict and script and know exactly how it's going to go. So I'm not going to make a move until I know that this is going to be successful, and I know that I'm not going to be able to fail. And that's where they get stuck, because that's not how life goes. How life goes is we take the very next step, and then life is going to go where it goes. And half the time it's going to go where we want it to, and half the time it's not. And then if it doesn't, we learn from that step and we say, okay, what do I need to take from this experience and grow? And now what's the very next step? And now what's the very next step? And before you know it, if you keep staying in action and just taking the very next step, right? It's almost like laying out your goals for where you want to get to and then forgetting about your goals, right? Because if you focus too much on the destination, right, the journey becomes filled with anxiety and frustration and, you know, a lot of attachments and demands and expectations. And those are the demands and expectations from our inner critic mind. It is our automatic inner critic mind that wants predictability and control. And if we've learned anything from this past year, right, life has never been predictable and controllable. And the more that we try and predict it and control it so that we don't experience, right, that pain, right? We don't want to experience rejection. We don't want to experience failure. We don't want to experience things not going the way that we say that they should. And that's where people get stuck, because that's what you have to be able to flow with, is when life doesn't go the way that you want it to. How can you think in a way where you can stay grounded in your own sense of self, your own power, and just keep taking the very next step?
Yeah, it's so important. We have only about 4 minutes left, Joanna. So I want to. I know you've got a free gift of 30. You call them the 30 most powerful rewired thoughts to change the trajectory of your life.
Yes.
Where would they go to get this? What's your information? What's your website, etc.?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Well, so you can get what you're talking about is my 30 most powerful mindset shifts, right? To change how you are thinking so that you can, really change the direction of your life. And you can get that at my website. But my book, Dethroning Your Inner Critic, the 4-step journey from self-doubt to self-empowerment, has become an international bestseller on Amazon. I'm absolutely blown away. I have about 65 5-star reviews, and I just released it a couple of months ago. So I'm just thrilled. That is, a culmination of my life's work. It is the most, it is an owner's manual for your mind, right? That's really how I wrote it. And so you can get that at Amazon. And just type in Dethroning Your Inner Critic. My website is dethrowingyourinnercritic.com. I've got a lot of different programs and courses, and I also work individually with clients one-on-one across the country and in other parts of the world as well. So that's my website, dethrowingyourinnercritic.com. And I also have a podcast called Dethroning Your Inner Critic, wherever you find your podcast. So yeah, I'm all over the place on Dethroning Your Inner Critic.
That's wonderful. Well, I know we've really enjoyed having you today, and I just want to remind everybody else that that you can go to my website, spunkyoldbroad.com, and while you're there, I hope you're going to get one of my coffee cups so you can have coffee or tea with me every morning. Look at the programs I have to offer online, so you don't have to worry about your pacing. And also, if you are a woman over 50, I have a virtual SOB club. So there's lots of things going on, and I do Facebook Lives every Monday. So there's lots of opportunity to work with me as well. So you've had a wonderful session this morning with Joanna Kleinman. And if you are going through some of the thoughts that she talked about, and she was pointing out, and it's so easy to get lost in your thoughts. That's the thing you have to think about. It's really easy to get lost in your thoughts. So I want you to think about, what is it that you can do to lead the kind of life that Joanna is telling you to lead? So how successful, Joanna, are you with your clients that you work with? How long does it take you to walk them through this process?
Well, within 3 months. Okay, I don't work with clients for years, right? I don't subscribe to traditional psychotherapy. I don't subscribe to delving into your past and spinning there. I am really about how are you going to think in a way right now that's in alignment with a brand new mind that changes your relationship with yourself and forwards your dreams. So within 3 months, people see concrete changes. I mean, really, to be honest with you, people say after the first session. I mean, I really, like, I've been doing this for a long time. I really know human design and the human mind. So after the first session, people already gain something from that first session. But within 3 months, there is a fundamental transformation in how they are thinking, how they are feeling, and therefore how they are acting, and therefore the results that they're producing in their life.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you so much for being with us today, Joanna. Remember, her book is Dethroning Your Inner Critic. It's on Amazon. Her website is the same thing, dethrowingyourinnercritic.com. So, Joanna, thanks so much for being with us today. We really enjoyed this, and I think it was very revealing to a lot of people.
Thank you so much for having me, Gail. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Women in Business. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you have any suggestions as to who you'd like me to have as a guest, just email me at gailcarson13@gmail.com. Be sure to check out www.sob6tips.com. And in the meantime, go to www.spunkyoldbroad.com to see the resources I have for you.